So a little over a couple hours ago, we did witness Jayden Daniels win the 2023 Heisman Trophy over Bo Nix, Michael Penix, and Marvin Harrison Jr. Ton of controversy already. Some people are going as far as say, is he the least deserving Heisman winner? And it's very fitting that we're having the same discussion not just a week ago with the playoff polls, really, with Alabama and Florida State argument going back and forth. Is it record-wise? Is it more deserving? Similar way with the Heisman now. Is it stat-wise? Is it success-wise? What is it exactly? And kind of scrolling down, we're going to look at the votes that were given for each of the players. Jayden Daniels kind of ran away with it with 503 first-place votes. Michael Penix Jr. came in second with 292. Bo Nix, 51. Marvin Harrison Jr. at 20. And Jordan Travis had 8. I'm sure some people kind of threw that in with the whole Florida State, controversy with the playoffs. So kind of throw some in there saying, well, obviously he must be the Heisman winner then if Florida State was held out of the playoffs because of that. But not trying to focus on that part of it. Focus on the top 4 candidates and kind of get my thoughts on if Jayden Daniels was the right pick or there should have been someone else. So getting into it. Kind of quickly showing his stats for people offhand who do not know how well he did this year. As you see, for this year, he had, we'll get into the rushing stats just now. He had 3,812 yards passing, 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, a 95.7 QBR, which was first in the NCAA. On top of that, for rushing, he also had 135 carries for 1,134 yards, 10 touchdowns. So in total, almost having 5,000 total yards and 50 touchdowns to go against 4 interceptions. Very, very impressive, no doubt. On top of having a 72.2 passer rating or completion percentage, as well. So again, stat-wise, you look at that, very impressive. And switching over to the big comparison that people are making, as of course his fellow LSU quarterback that won it was Joe Burrow, and this is posted by Bleacher Report. Give credit to them. Similar, very similar. The only thing Burrow beats him out in is the completion percentage, but it shows you the absolute dominance. Basically, had a better season than what Joe Burrow had in 2019 when he won the Heisman. But here's the catch. It goes back to people saying, don't compare him to Joe Burrow because Burrow went on to win the national championship, as opposed to Jayden Daniels, who didn't even make a New Year's Six bowl game. Finished the season 9-3, which again, that's why going back to the beginning. Do we go off of stat wise for a player? Do we go off of success wise, team wise, and stuff like that? It's very tricky to base it off of stuff like that. So again, stat-wise, you look at it and compare it to the other ones, who I'll just get into in a second. Look at the other guys. Bo Nix had 4,145 yards passing, 40 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. On top of the rushing attack, he had 278 rushing yards, 6 touchdowns. He had a 66.7 completion percentage, or 36 total touchdowns. Or sorry, 43. Or my math's all over the place. 46 total touchdowns, as opposed to Jayden Daniels had 50 total. So not that far off. Next, for Michael Penix, had 4,218 yards, 33 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. So had the most out of the 3, but interception-wise, not horrible still, but had 9 interceptions on the year. For the rushing attack, he had 239 yards, 3 touchdowns, had a 65.9 completion percentage. Again, worst out of the 3 for them. Had 36 touchdowns. I was kind of, getting the numbers mixed up for Michael Penix and Bo Nix. So again, out of the 3 quarterbacks, the lowest total touchdown mark out of the 3. And the other one is tough to comparison because you're trying to compare different positions, which isn't really fair with this discussion. But you had Marvin Harrison Jr., who had a phenomenal season this year, 67 catches for 1,211 yards, 14 touchdowns. He also had 58 yards rushing and one touchdown rushing, leading to 15 total. So obviously I can't compare the total touchdowns to quarterbacks to the running backs. Obviously, it's not fair. But respectively, he was the best wide receiver in the college football season this year. So no doubt he did deserve to have his name up there as one of the top candidates. But going back to Jayden Daniels, did he deserve to go in there? Now, I did comment on one post that Daniels was going to win it, but I was going off of more so stat wise because I think that's what it is. It's basically just a numbers game, really. You look at it, he has the most impressive yard, stat line, almost having 5,000 total yards, 50 total touchdowns, 72% completion percentage. It's amazing. And when you once you compare it to Joe Burrow, obviously you look at it. Well, obviously, if Joe Burrow won it, then Jayden Daniels must get it. But for me, even though I did say Jayden Daniels was going to win it, I don't think he necessarily deserved it, because I want to try and combine at least both hand in hand success and stat wise. We look at the success. Now again, it's not, even though the quarterback's the most important position in the game, everyone else has to do their job. Playing other people have to do their job, have to do it right. We see that constantly in the NFL when we talk about certain quarterbacks and certain situations where defenses don't step up, or wide receivers don't catch his passes and this and that. So we look at success-wise. Where was the end result for each of these three teams? Now again, not fair for Marvin Harrison, even though he was the best wide receiver in the country. It's not as the position, is not as high as a quarterback that has the most effect on it. At the end of the day, he has to rely on the quarterback to make the throws to him. But for Marvin Harrison Jr., he will have a New Year's Six bowl game. Did make it in for that. Michael Penix had the best success out of all four of them. Is the number one or the second best team in the country, and is in the playoff race in the semifinals. They will be facing Texas in the semifinal match. Bo Nix has also a New Year's Six bowl game. I'm pretty sure it's the Fiesta Bowl over Liberty. So again, did his job, even though ultimately the main goal was to make it to the playoffs. Still, a New Year's Six bowl game is a high accomplishment. So there's that. So what did Jayden Daniels do? Of all three of them, again, all of them either made a New Year's Six bowl game or made the playoffs. What did Jayden Daniels do? Well, his team was 9-3, and ultimately they did not make any top, the New Year's Six bowl game or anything like that. No playoffs and no nothing. So that's the thing that really hurts him. Yes, he has the amazing stats, but where did that translate to it? Where was the team success to it as opposed to the other guys? And that's the biggest thing I think there should be a conversation about. Yes, he had video game stats. He was phenomenal. He played unbelievable. The stats are amazing. But we're talking about the Heisman Trophy. We normally think about the best player in college football. Out of any positions, out of everybody. Like last year, Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams was a phenomenal player. He deserved to be the Heisman winner, the best player in the country, and he showed that last year. Jayden Daniels isn't the best quarterback in the country, let alone the best player in the country. So when I look at that for the Heisman, I just don't see it, because I don't believe Daniels is even the best quarterback in the country. Bo Nix and Michael Penix have done far better than Jayden Daniels. And no doubt when we're talking about ranking the top quarterbacks, or at least the number one spot for this year, no one's saying Jayden Daniels outside maybe LSU fans. But if we're kind of just looking at it as a fair lens, taking a step back and looking at it, no one's saying Jayden Daniels is the best quarterback. So if he's not even the best player at his position, why should he win the Heisman? So for me, I'm on a page I did post Daniels winning the Heisman. I didn't agree with it. I knew ultimately he was going to win it because of, again, the numbers look amazing. I don't think he deserved it. To me, there definitely is an argument, again, going back to success and stat-wise. You could say Bo Nix, but the one thing that hurts him at the end of the day, he was 0-2 against Michael Penix. Lost to him twice this season. Lost to him early in the year, and lost to him in the Pac-12 championship game. That really hurts him, especially when you're putting the two, against each other. It definitely doesn't help that you lost twice to the same quarterback this year. So by default with that, even though he does have better stats, more impressive stats, I should say, than Michael Penix, I can't give it to him because he lost twice to him. So by default, I think Michael Penix Jr. should have been the Heisman. We look at, again, stat-wise, Jayden Daniels is far more impressive than Penix, but at the end of the day, he has the stats and he has success. I mean, 33 touchdowns, 9 interceptions is not horrible. Again, has the highest interceptions of all the three candidates for the quarterbacks. But again, for total touchdowns, 36. Again, even though it's still a big gap between him and Daniels, I do believe Penix should have won the Heisman this year. Again, he has both the stats to back it up and also the team success. And not only that, he definitely has a legitimate chance of winning it all. I know it might sound crazy, even though if I had to rank the 4 teams in the playoffs, I would put probably Washington maybe the worst as the worst team. You definitely can make the argument between them and Alabama, but I think I would just put Washington at the 4th spot, even though they are the 4th spot, in my opinion. They still have a realistic chance of winning it all. Honestly, they do. All 4 of the teams in the playoffs have an honest shot of winning it. There's no Cincinnati. There's no TCU in this team in this race. Michael Penix definitely has a legitimate chance of winning the championship. So not only that, it's going to make it look worse if, let's say, he goes on and wins it. Where did he deserve it? Now I know you can't factor in the Heisman for this because this is before the national championship and all that. Same, similar to what people say for Joe Burrow, who we didn't know he was going to win the Heisman, but with him win the championship, with him winning it at all, it definitely raises the the value of the Heisman. And again, if Michael Penix goes on to win the championship, it makes the argument harder to say Jayden Daniels deserved it, because once again, Daniels wasn't even the best quarterback in the country. So if he's at the best at his position, why should he win the award that's supposed to be the best of all positions? That's how I look at it. And I understand why they gave it to him. It's a stat game. It looks amazing. It looks fantastic. But at the end of the day, again, people are just gonna keep pushing this. The Joe Burrow comparisons. It's impressive. It's amazing. I get it. But at the same time, too, if we're gonna go off of stat wise, Sean Bailey Zappi should have won it in his final year of his collegiate season at Western Kentucky. He was at, because he has the record for the most passing yards in the season and most touchdowns. So should he have won the Heisman that year? It's impressive, right? Stat wise, it shouldn't. But obviously, we know he didn't have the success. He was a small school. It doesn't matter. And for Joe Burrow, it made the previous record holder for both of them. It was more impressive being him in the SEC and winning it all. So again, we can't go off of just solely stats, even though that's 100% in my opinion what they went off of, and probably a lot of people can agree with that. He didn't deserve it. I do truly believe that Michael Penix should have won it. And it's kind of crazy to think that there was such a decent gap between him and Daniels. I thought it should have been a lot closer if we do kind of simple math. Daniels had 211 more first place votes than Penix. I don't agree with that. I do believe Penix was robbed in this one. I might want to say, like, he's actually, the more I think about it, I think you can actually make a legitimate case that this is probably the weakest Heisman winner. I understand. Again, he did his job. He put the numbers up. This record wise isn't horrible. 9-3. It's not amazing, but it's good enough. But in the day, when you're talking about success wise, all the other guys had far more success and went farther, as opposed to LSU, who isn't in a top bowl game this year or in the playoffs. And I think that should definitely be, especially when we talk about the quarterback position. Once again, most important position in any level of football. Yes, that kind of be should be held against them at some point. And for me, Michael Penix should have been the Heisman winner. He got robbed, and again, hopefully, for Penix wise, this is kind of fuel to really motivate him to win the national championship and kind of make it a little bit more uncomfortable to have that conversation of Jayden Daniels validation to win the Heisman. But again, that's my quick thoughts on the whole Heisman situation. Once again, Jayden Daniels is your 2023 Heisman winner.